So it seems like the preparation for Stearns' trial in September is in full swing. So in addition to the multiple motions that I went through yesterday from Stearns' defence team, we also have a number of additional depositions which are occurring. And of course, thankfully, these are things that I can pronounce as opposed to trying to pronounce the different legal terms yesterday in my video. I apologise for those people who were probably frustrated by my efforts at pronouncing those legal terms. Anyway, back to this video. So we have, in addition to the previous 13 depositions, and there's a video about them which I did probably about a week or so back. Now we have an additional 14 depositions which are scheduled to occur. Now, as with any documents that I'm looking at, I will put these into my Patreon. So for those of you who may not be aware, I have created a free Patreon. It costs you nothing to join, and that's where I put all the documents for these cases. There is also a $1 and a $2 tier for anyone who feels that they would like to provide a little bit of support for my channel, but that's certainly not required. And for the most part, your free membership will give you access to all these documents. So as soon as I finish recording this video, I'll drop these documents into Patreon for everyone to access. So let's go through the 3 new notices of deposition. So again, this notice is a notice for the defence. So it comes now to the defendant herein named above by and through the undersigned attorney, and herewith gives notice of the taking of depositions of the below listed individuals for the office of the public defender. Of remote Zoom video deposition at the below indicated time. So it looks like these are scheduled for March and April. So in March, we have, on the 28th of March, we have Renee de Villa, Shia V. Janiak, Frankie W. Joseph, Christine M. Marcus. And then on the 9th of April, you have Tristan Clark, Julie Junko, Aubrey Hardy Dimmick, Lorraine Mingione. And then on the 11th, you have Hannah Miner and Lindsay Miller. So who are these people? Okay, I'm just going to go through the list and just give you a bit of a who's who of these people. So the first person is actually the Renee de Villa is Canine Archer's handler. I could imagine that this could be an interesting deposition, given that Canine Archer didn't alert to Stearns' car, but he alerted to Jen's vehicle. So I reckon this could be a very, very interesting deposition, and I can see why they've got him listed. And then the next two, Shia Janiak and Frankie Joseph are both crime scene investigators. You'll see that everyone except for Aubrey Dimmick has a number after their name, and that's their badge number. So first of all, Shia Janiak, she's the lead crime scene investigator. So she was involved with all the searches with the apartment, the dumpster and the vehicles, and obviously overseeing the other officers that were involved. Frankie Joseph was not CSI. Christine Marcus is crime scene investigation. and was one of the people that searched the residence and found a lot of the items that were taken as evidence. Frankie Joseph was one of the officers who attended Yolanda's office and did the interview with Jen and Stefan. So, one of the first officers involved in the case. You can see that's only a half hour, possibly, deposition. I guess, presumably, these are all half hour depositions, unless they are doing them, a few of the lawyers doing separate depositions. So, like I said, Christine Marcus is CSI. She was one of the people involved in searching the residence. And then Tristan Clark is the officer who attended the townhouse and did that video interview that we've just come across with Stefan and Jen on the night after they'd been interviewed at Yolanda's office. So the one where they were high as kites. And then he went and interviewed Stephanie and Juan as well at Stephanie's house. Now, Julie Junko, she is one of the lead detectives. She was present during the interview with Juan and Stephanie. Not the video one, but the one where they approached the officers with questions. She was also present during the search of the apartment, and she was also present during the strip search of Stefan. I'm not sure, but I think she may have been the officer that said to Stefan, "Don't do anything squirrely, man, or you'll eat carpet." If not, it was the other detective that was there. Moving on, we have Aubrey Hardy Dimmick. If that name rings a bell, you've probably only recently heard of it. That is the owner of the property where Maddie was found. So, be interesting to see what questions the defence have for him. In terms of what strategy this all means, I guess they're going to, in terms of the CSI officers, they're probably going to try and discredit their practices, try and find something that they did wrong, or question their knowledge. As for Aubrey Hardy Dimmick, don't know. Maybe there's a previous incidents of people accessing his property. Maybe access wasn't properly gained, like in a legal manner, and they're going to use that somehow. I don't know. Now let's move on. Lorene, I think that's how you pronounce it, Mingione. That was a captain, and he was the person who found Maddie. So he was involved in searching the area around Hickory Tree Road, and he was one of two officers that entered the Dimmick property after they received the notification, and he was the person who located Maddie. So I think that's clear why he's an important person in this case. Okay, now moving on is Hannah Miner and Lindsay Miller, both of whom were crime scene investigation technicians. So both of whom were involved with the search of the house and I believe also the search of the dumpster. So I'm going to move on to look at the next notice of depositions. So here on the 22nd of April, we have 3 minors listed for depositions. So this is notice of taking video depositions. Now, in Australia, we do have the option of minors doing video depositions, which are then used in court as opposed to the minors having to testify. So I'm just wondering if that is something that does actually happen in courts in America, or if this is not the case. So we have 3 minors listed here. The first minor is Maddie's best friend. And they've actually allocated an hour for each of these, which is interesting. I guess it could be because there's probably certain restrictions and regulations around questioning of minors. The second minor who is being interviewed is the other friend who was at Maddie's birthday party. The one who, in one of the interviews, she said she had somewhat recently became friends with Maddie. I think she said they were in gym together. And yeah, she had gone to Maddie's birthday party. The third one, I'm not familiar with the initials, but I'm guessing that that's quite possibly the other audio interview that we heard from Maddie's friends. If you wanted to listen to those interviews, the link for all of those is, of course, I'll add it below in this video, and it's basically in amongst the case files. So if you are not familiar with my channel, I have 2 playlists for Maddie Soto. One is just all the Madeline Soto videos, and the other playlist I have is what I've called a case file, which is basically all the uninterrupted interviews. So no commentary, no interruptions, just straight through interviews. So that is our 3 minors who are being interviewed on the 22nd of April, and I feel so sad for these young ladies that they are being interviewed, because it's just, I mean, I know that there's not going to be much healing for them until after the case is resolved, but imagine being a now 14-year-old and having this whole scary thing of having to go and do a deposition. Couldn't be easy. Okay, so moving on, there is one more deposition which has been listed. So this one is listed for the 29th of April, and this is Angelica, the Spanish-speaking flatmate. So can understand why they would want to interview her. I don't think we've seen a listing for Natalie yet, but certainly I can see why she's on the list. She certainly saw a lot that happened in that apartment, and if they are going at Jen, they are probably going to be interviewing her with the goal of trying to show how negligent Jen was and how Jen basically allowed Stearns free access to her daughter. So that brings us to the end of the list of depositions. I know this makes it for a very short video. I had considered reading some of the reports written by various officers, but I think in this instance, given that for the most part, it's just crime scene investigation. Basically, their reports basically say things like, we attended the apartment and participated in the search, essentially. In terms of Aubrey Hardy Dimmick, I know Paula is still trying to get hold of his sworn statement, so there's actually nothing documented in terms of any statements from him yet. So had we had that, it would have been an interesting one to look at, but it seems like that one is AWOL. In terms of the miners, like I said, I will just supply the link for you so you can go and have another listen to their interviews should you wish to. So, yep, a very short and sweet video. That said, it is another super stinking hot day here, and there is also limitations at the moment on how long I can remain working on something like this, thanks to a broken shoulder, which I've mentioned in previous videos. So I'll leave it at that. Thanks for listening. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe. Also, please hit the like button, and also please leave a comment below. Thanks, and I'll catch you in the next one.